Parshas Vayeishev, Tov Shin Pei Vav, the Shabbos before Chanukah, Shabbos Mevorchim Teves. Time is flying along here. Here in the Northeast, on the East Coast of the United States, winter has finally hit. We had a little bit cold weather, so it feels a little bit like Chanukah's coming by our standards, of course. I know people that listen to the Shir in Australia, they're just starting to feel the good summer. So they somehow, I have a hard time wrapping my mind around that. Lighting Chanukah left late at night, summer nights, during summer activity. I don't know, something seems a little strange to me about that. But nevertheless, Yidden all over the world are getting ready for Neres Chanukah. Chanukah's coming this Sunday night. And one of the themes of this shir over the past, Baruch Hashem, 16 years, where we learn about and we internalize the messages and the lessons of the Nesivos Shalom, one of the strong themes is that we want to be ready for things. It's one of the themes straight across the Nesivos Shalom. The Nesivos Shalom talks many, many times about it, that things come up, Yom Tovim come up, occasions come up, Shabbosos come up, different things come up every week, every month, different things throughout the year. And what could happen is, if you're looking the other way, if you're asleep at the wheel, you miss the whole thing. You miss opportunities. You miss a time that you can really grow, and you can really gain, and you can really become a different person, a better person. So the Nesivos Shalom is always telling us that we want to be prepared when life and when things come along. We don't want to be asleep. We want to use these times to take advantage of the opportunities that come our way. And that's really how a Yid grows. If you're cognizant of the time of the year, the place that you are, then you're ready to meet the challenge and you're ready to grow at that time. So I contemplated that idea and I decided that tonight's shir, even though it's Parshas Vayeishev this week, there's so much to talk about in the Parsha. What an exciting, what an unbelievable Parsha. But I thought about it and decided that tonight's shir should revolve around the topic of Chanukah. And why is that? Because that's what the Nesivos Shalom would want. That we're a few days before Chanukah, and the time to talk about Chanukah is not when you're a bunch of days into Chanukah already. The time to talk about Chanukah is right now, where we can be prepared before it comes. So when it comes to the first night of Chanukah, you're ready to run, you're ready to go. So we're going to speak about Chanukah, and we, all of us here who are Talmidim of the Nesivos Shalom, we're going to be ready when this holy Yom Tov of Chanukah comes around in a few days. And Chazal tell us, very interesting Chazal, that they had the Nes Chanukah, right? They had the whole, the Nes of the Chanukah, the Milchama, the Menorah, and Chazal tell us, L'shana acheres, kavum v'ason yom tovim. Chazal tell us that the next year, the year after the Nes Chanukah happened, they were koiveya, Chachamim were koiveya, Chazal were koiveya, a Yom Tov. But they did not institute the Yom Tov right away when the Nes of Chanukah happened. They waited until next year. They waited until the next year, and that is when they decided that there should be a Yom Tov on Chanukah. And I don't know about you, I find that very interesting, because as soon as he had the Nes, as soon as he saw what happened, they should have been Keveya Yom Tov. But says in the Nesivos Shalom that the message is that by us, by Yidden, we do not celebrate days of commemoration. We don't commemorate something that happened way back. If it's not negayah to me, if it's not going to move me in some way, if it's not going to do something for me, we don't do that. We don't commemorate things that happened because they happened and they're in the past. and it's not for us. So you think about it for a minute. Our history is full of nisim, miracles. The history of Klal Yisrael, right? We live on miracles. And even recently, the history of Klal Yisrael is full of nisim, and also not just small nisim, very, very big ones that have happened. And the list is very, very long. And you could start thinking about it, writing it down. You'll come up with tremendous amount of nisim miracles that happened throughout the history of Klal Yisrael. Yet, if you think about it, there are no specific Yomim Tovim to actually commemorate those miracles, those things that happened for us, for Klal Yisrael. Why? Why don't we have Yomim Tovim to commemorate those days? Is because the only time, says in Nesivos Shalom, the only times that we actually do make a Yom Tov is when we see that the same light and the same hashpah and the same spiritual high that was there when the nace happened, if we wait till a later date, if we wait until the next year, and we see that it comes around again, that light, that siyata d'shmaya that was there at the time of the nace is back again the next year. We see that same light returns at the same time of the year, the next time it comes around, then, and we see that it returns every year. That's when we know that what happened, that nace is nitzchias, and it's part of us. Because Hashem says that it's not just a one-time thing that there was a big nace, was a big one. No, this one is different. So the hashpah and the light, it comes around again. We see, you know what? We're going right back to that place. So what did the Chachamim do? The Chachamim waited until the next year to be Koivea, the Yom Tov of Chanukah, because when they saw that this special light returns every year, that's when they were able to say, now we're going to be a Koivea, a Yom Tov of Chanukah. When it came the next year and they saw that the nace of the Milchama, winning the war, was a one-time nace. Winning the war was a fantastically, unbelievably big nace. But that was just a one-time nace. So they were not Koivea, because remember, there were different parts of Chanukah. There was winning the war, there was the nace of the Pach Shemen. So the hashpah of the nace of the Pach Shemen came around the next year again. But the nace of the Milchama, that hashpah did not come back. Winning the war was just a one-time great nace, so there was no Yom Tov made for that. But the nace of the Or HaMenorah, the Chachamim saw that it did return, and it did come back once again, and that it would return every year. It would be here to light up the neshama of every single Yid. Every year when it comes to Chanukah, you have a special light in your neshama, you have a special siyata d'shmaya, you have a special high that you get from the Yom Tov. Therefore, we were Koivea Yom Tov to commemorate the Or HaMenorah. And therefore the Yom Tov revolves, as we know, around the nace of the Pach Shemen. We light the menorah. That all commemorates one of a few of the nisim that happened at the time of the nace Chanukah. But the Neros Chanukah are the Ikar nace, the one nace that's perpetual, that it comes around again, and we're able to tap into that same thing every single year at this time. So really the question is, and just a little plug here, you see this special sefer Nesivos Shalom for Chanukah, amazing things. I don't know. I mean, the regular sefer Nesivos Shalom is extremely popular. It's probably one of the hottest selling svarim in the world of Hasidus for sure. But this sefer on Chanukah is a special thing. You can mamish eat the whole thing up. It's a good thing. You have 8 days. You're eating donuts. You're eating the sefer Nesivos Shalom. But the question that we need to ask now is, we said a very beautiful vart. that why we have the nace, why we commemorate the nace of the or of the menorah, of the nace of lighting the menorah. Why is it? Why is it that the nace of Chanukah lights is the one that was zoicha? Why is that the one that comes around again? So Nesivos Shalom says, and he tells us a beautiful, encouraging word. He says, you know what? The nace Chanukah, if you look at the history of the time in history that the nace of Chanukah happened, this was the last nace that happened before the final Golus. This was the last nace, the nace of Chanukah. And it's represented in the Torah. The Chazal tell us that when we say, right, Bereshis bara Elokim, it says, V'oretz hoisa soyu v'voyu v'choshech al pnei sahaim. So soyu v'voyu choshech al pnei sahaim, 4 different things. And Mepharshim tell us that it's referring to the 4 Goliyos. That the soyu v'voyu v'choshech al pnei sahaim is our Golus. What does Al Pnei Sahaim represent? Chazal tell us that the Tahaim, as we know, represents a boundless and a bottomless situation. And that really reflects the Golus that we are in right now. Al Pnei Sahaim, the reason that is used to represent the final Golus and our Golus is because the Tahaim is something that's bottomless. We don't know. It's a Golus, our Golus that we're in. For now, really, really close to 2,000 years already. We're getting close to 2,000 years, unbelievably. It's a Golus with no end in sight. We've been going through this for so many years, right? There was a Golus that was 70 years, another Golus, right? The Golus Mitzrayim with a few hundred years. But this Golus seems like it's bottomless and it's endless. And so we know that the Nes Chanukah was established, says in the Nesivos Shalom, to light the neshama of us Yidden to get through that Golus. It was the last Nes before this long Golus, and that Nes Chanukah was put there to light, to keep a light in every one of our neshamas until Mashiach comes, to keep us warm, to keep us close, to keep that light kindled in us throughout the Golus, to give us the strength to persevere through the Golus, to light up what seemingly the Tahaim of this Golus, to light that up. In other words, to usher in the spirit of Mashiach, where we can have the light of the menorah as it was in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. So Chazal left us that part of the Nes. Chazal told us that part, that message of when we were about to go into Golus, and that we were about to begin a Golus of 2,000 years, which we are now almost 2,000 years down the line. Chazal tell us that Hashem was giving us that message, that this mitzvah of Neres Chanukah, this nates of the Or HaMenorah, is going to be what gets us through. So as we know, the Gemara asks, Masechta Shabbos, famous Gemara, everybody knows, the Gemara asks, my Chanukah? What is Chanukah? And the answer to that is the Oira Menorah. That's the answer. My Chanukah. Chanukah is represented by that hope and that light and that spark that was shown to us before we went into Golus, and that it comes around every single year to remind us of this light and to allow us the opportunity to get that closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to get that warmth, to return to the place that we were at the time of the Nes of the Neres Chanukah. So every one of us has the opportunity, once again, coming into Chanukah in a couple of days. Now we're going to have a Shabbos between now and Chanukah to contemplate a little bit, to think a little bit. Let's be awake and try to catch the light. Let's not be asleep. Let's not wake up on the other side of Chanukah just 30 pounds heavier from donuts and latkes. That doesn't do anything. It's all wonderful. Being in the donut business, I want everyone to buy as many donuts and eat as many donuts as you can. But remember what the ikar of Chanukah is. It's the light of Chanukah. It's how we can gain. And every one of us is going to come out as a better person and gain so much this Chanukah.